Okay. So just to introduce myself, my name is Ikra and I'm a care navigator at First Care Practice. And I'll be hosting this webinar today. So today's session will be about the impact that COVID-19 coronavirus has had on food banks. And we're really fortunate to have two members of a local food bank here with us. So that's great. So we'd like to welcome you all to this webinar. And we want it to be as interactive as possible. So hopefully you can, when it's time for questions, you can message me and we can do questions in that way. So this is one of the COVID-19 webinar series that we're doing. So we've done a few webinar series today, and this will be one of them. So hopefully through this webinar, we can support, inform, and entertain you. And one of the main themes that we want to bring out is selflessness and community spirit during this time. So if you have any stories to share, we'll be opening up the mic at the end so you can share those with us. So let's start off with a quick poll. So if everyone just answers that question, then we can review it. Okay. Okay, all right. So the question was, have you ever had to use a food bank? And all of you guys have said no. 7 of you said no. Okay. And we're going to do another poll, which is, do you think you'll need to use a food bank during this difficult time? Okay, so that's okay. So 3 people have said that they might need to use it, and 3 have said that they probably won't, which is interesting, considering that at the beginning we said no one's ever used a food bank. Okay, so we'll just start this webinar off with some general facts about the use of food banks in the UK. So it's been steadily rising year on year, and we have a graph to show you, hopefully in a minute. So at the end of 2019, there were more than 2,000 food banks in the UK. And a recent poll in the UK has shown that more than 1.5 million adults in Britain say they cannot obtain enough food. And half of the people surveyed said they were self-isolating, and 53% of NHS workers were worried about getting food. So obviously that might be because, you know, of the shortages and people panic buying and things like that. But yeah, so half of parents on low incomes with children eligible for free school meals said they had not received any substitute meals to keep their children fed. And this is despite government promises that they would be providing food vouchers and parcels. So they estimate around 130,000 children are therefore likely to be going without daily sustenance, which is really sad. And of those surveyed, 12%, which is about 6.1 million adults, said they were struggling to follow the government order to stay at home because they had to keep earning to survive. So that might be representative of a lot of us as well. Okay, so we will be showing you hopefully another graph which shows the rise of food banks. Okay. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so what we can show you, we will be showing you, there we go. Okay, so as you can see between 2015 and 2016, there were 1,109,309 number of 3-day emergency food supplies given by food banks. And in 2016 and 2017, that's risen to 1,182,000, which is quite a significant rise. So as you can see, throughout the years, it's been rising steadily. So yeah, that's quite a big concern. And also we want to show you a quick graph to see who mostly uses food banks, which is quite interesting as well. Or hopefully won't be long. Okay, great. So quite surprisingly, this might be surprising for some of you, but the person most likely to use food banks is a single men, so 39%, which is quite a large majority of the food bank use. 13% is single mums with children, 12% is single women, and 9% is couples with dependent children. Okay, that's interesting. And we'll just end this introduction with a short video, just a minute long, just with some more facts about food banks that are really interesting. Okay, that's great. Thank you, Sarah. So in that video, it showed, there was some aspects where it showed why people need to use food banks. So we'll be exploring those later on in the webinar, so don't worry. And now I'm going to introduce Una and Philip to the panel. So they'll just give a short introduction about themselves, and then we'll be asking them some questions. So, hi Philip, hi Una.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Shall I begin?
Yes, please.
Okay, my name's Una Lacey and I'm the project advisor for the Hounslow Community Foodbox. My main role is to advise the board and support the day-to-day work, but also very much more about raising awareness about poverty and thinking about bringing on new initiatives to help people in the community. So that might be working with local business, might be working with local schools to raise awareness. And I was fortunate that I was part of the group to set up the Hounslow Community Foodbox with the leader of the council, Steve Curran.
Great, thank you. And Philip?
Hi everybody. I'm the treasurer and company secretary of the Hounslow Foodbox. So I'm responsible for finance and also compliance with the Charities Commission guidance, and also a key aspect of my role is to support our volunteers and to make sure we have the right processes to support our community by providing food parcels. I've been with the Foodbox about a year. I joined in April last year.
Okay, thank you. So we've just prepared a few questions to ask Philip and Una. So we'll just start off with, can you outline the impact of COVID-19 on your food bank in recent weeks?
Well, it's been extraordinary. All of our community have had to adapt to the impact of the coronavirus, COVID-19. But we've had to look at our procedures and we've had to change them substantially several times in the last couple of weeks. We put new operating procedures in place, and these are to protect our volunteers who are providing the service and also to the people that are using our services. So our volunteers are now using gloves, face masks, ensure that social distancing is maintained. We're deep cleansing the food box where we operate from on a weekly basis. And because of the space constraints within our food box, we're reducing the number of people we can have in there at any one time. So we can just have 2 volunteers inside the food box now. So no longer are people coming to collect the food parcels from the food box. We're now a delivery-only service from this week. So what we've been doing over the last few weeks is recruiting lots of drivers who, volunteer drivers who will come to the food box, pick up some food parcels and distribute it across the whole of the London Borough of Hounslow. So that's from Feltham in the west to Chiswick in the east. So we've had a great response from the community. Loads of people are coming forward to volunteer. Our focus at the moment is on drivers who can get out there and provide the food parcels, because we're experiencing a huge increase in demand. I think just today, in fact, we received 80 referrals to provide food parcels. And this time last year, we were providing 80 food parcels a month. So it's just on a completely different scale. And many of the people who are looking for a food parcel have been referred to us to have a food parcel. Around about 70% of them are self-isolating or ill, so they can't get out to buy some food. People have lost their jobs because of the changing economic circumstances, and everybody is struggling financially. So the demographic of people who are using the food box has changed quite substantially just in 1 week. So we've had to purchase some food, but most of our food is donated, and donations are starting to come in, but we're providing all of our donations. They're going out the door very, very quickly in food parcels. So it's quite a struggle to keep up and maintain the service over the next few weeks. Thank you.
Thank you, Philip. So the second question is, it will be addressed to Una. So why do you think people use food banks?
I think in the past there was a stigma around people thinking about going to food banks, that food banks were for people who were sleeping on the streets and that sort of thing. And I think the stigma has gone, quite rightly it has, because it's now accepted, I think, that crisis does happen, things change, and people get into difficulty for no fault of their own. And there needs to be that place where somebody can go safely to get that support. Before, there was the idea that people felt that those people who are coming to food banks were people who were on benefits. But actually that's not true, because they've actually got an income. It's those people who may, as you can see from the pie chart, there may be people there who have lost their jobs. And we saw it especially with people working 0 hours. Their contracts, they may 1 week have 20 hours, the next week they only have 10. And the problem is, they have to budget, they've got to pay their rent, and they've got to buy food. And if they don't have enough money coming in, the problem is people will then go and borrow money from loan sharks and get themselves into debt. And we don't want them to do that. So we like to have an open approach, and we feel that people should come to the food bank to have support. So if we look at that, the people who are sort of coming, this graph actually has changed this week, where we've got the biggest sector there about benefit issues. Now that isn't the biggest issue at the moment. The biggest issue is, as Philip mentioned, is those people who are self-isolating or unwell, or there is a lot of fear in the community and people are afraid to go out. So that's where the benefits is, that issue, that's where what the biggest sector now is that. Whereas there are people who are things happen in their lives. They might be the victim of crime, the family might have had a bereavement, they could be leaving care, somebody could be come out of prison, all sorts of reasons that we have. But one of the key things that I'm very keen about is that we make sure the service is accessible, and that we make sure that people know they can come to us. So for instance, we work with the hospital as part of their discharge policy. So sometimes they will call us late in the day, sometimes after we've closed, and say they're releasing somebody from hospital who is going in a taxi to the home, will be dropped off, but actually this is a Friday night and they've got no food. So what we will then do is put together a pack and then get that delivered to the person. And there might be the other ones who come to us are people who have got long-term sickness. They may now be at home having palliative care, and as part of that, we can then support them to make sure they get the food. And we've done that for up to about 8-10 weeks for people. We don't put a time limit or on how many times people can come to us either.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Una. You guys are doing really great work. And hopefully these webinars will take out more of the stigma that there is in using food banks. So also a quick question, how do people in need access food banks, or your food bank specifically?
Okay, anybody who's in need of food across the borough can have access to us. So we have what we call referral partners. So this might be the council, it could be your GP, it could be your district nurse, it could be a housing officer, it could be the CAB, a whole range of organisations that can actually refer you. So when somebody needs help, if they go onto our website, they will see an email address at info@hounslowfoodbox.org.uk, and they can email me there, or they can ring me, and I will advise them and help them actually get connected to a referral partner. And the referral partner is the person that actually completes the voucher, and they are the people who are determining there's a need. We don't ask that. We don't make that decision. It's not our role. Our role is to support whoever is sent to us. So it's a very easy process.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. Thank you, Una. So lastly, my question is to Philip. What can people do to help your food bank at this moment? Because we know you're kind of overwhelmed.
Well, we need food to provide to the people that are using our service. So food donations are still really important. Actually, in the last week, some communities are setting up their own collection boxes in their own streets or buildings. And where we're able to, we'll make sure we can collect those donations and bring them to the food box. Because many people are at home, they want to donate, they don't know quite how to donate. So some of our people have supported the food box in the past, they're making financial donations now, where in the past they would have made a donation of food.
Okay.
And another key area is donations of time. So people volunteering at the food box. So at the moment we're trying to build up our pool of volunteers, particularly those who are able to drive and deliver the food parcels. And because this crisis is going to last for months, so there's an impact right now, but we need people over the coming months to help. And so, although our focus is on drivers, we'll need other people in the coming months too.
Yeah. Okay. Absolutely. So that's great. Thank you. So now we're going to open up the webinar to any patients that might have any questions. So what you need to do, you need to go onto the chat and write a message, and then I will read out the question, and myself, Philip, but Una will answer it. So we'll give you a few seconds to do that. So I haven't received any questions yet. Okay, so we've got one question. That's great. So we're being asked, how can I help? And what kind of help can I give now? So like Philip said, they're taking money donations, they're taking food donations, and also they are in need of volunteer drivers as well to deliver food to people's houses. So if you can provide any of that, then you can get in touch with them, and then they will support you in that. Okay, and I've got another question here saying, do you need to call on this number to get access to the food bank, or do we need to contact the GP? Okay, so like Una said, there's several ways of getting a referral to a food bank. So firstly, there's, like we said, there's a job centre, housing officer, GP, or there's Citizens Advice Bureau as well. Okay, I'm just going to open up the floor to Una so she can share with us. So Una, sorry, you said there's several ways of referring.
So there's several places you can go, people can go, and I think the important thing is people can't self-refer. So you can't refer yourself, you have to come through an agent. But one of the key thing is, if somebody wants to find out how to get referred, they ring me and or email me, and then I will speak to them and identify the best route for them to go. But it's very easy, and we can sort it for people.
Thank you very much, Una. So we're just going to finish off now, as it's run past our time. But just to end, we want to know if patients have any stories about selflessness or community spirit that they want to share with us at this time. So if you do have any stories, you can write a message to me and I'll unmute you to speak. Okay, so I haven't received any messages yet, so we'll just wrap up the webinar. So if everyone can complete this poll at the end, that'll be really useful for us in our future webinars, and always be honest about what you think as well. Okay, that's great. So the majority is that it was good, and some said it was superb, which is great. So thank you everyone for, especially Una and Philip, for giving your time. We really appreciate it. We know you're really busy. And thank you to the patients for attending and listening to us. And we'll share this webinar with you, and hopefully we'll be doing some more webinars like this shortly. Thank you. Bye-bye.